Good morning, everybody. So in today's video, I'm going to be making a pork enchilada casserole using leftover pork loin that we smoked on the weekend. I had quite a bit left over, wanted to use it up somehow, and this was the perfect solution. I made my own enchilada sauce and served it for me with a low carb option. So that's what we're up to today. Come join me. Click subscribe down below. Hit the all notification buttons and don't miss any of the videos that I post. So for this recipe, I need enchilada sauce. And of course, I don't have any. I don't buy enchilada sauce, and I would rather make it from scratch. So I'm going to double the recipe. So I have 16 ounces of tomato sauce in here. I'm going to add the spices. I'm going to put everything in the tomato sauce. I think I'm supposed to do it on the stove, add the oil, the flour, all that kind of stuff, and brown it. But I'm going to blend everything in here. I'm going to put the spices. So this is homemade chili powder. I'm supposed to do 4 tablespoons. 2, 3, and 4. So chili powder, have chicken broth. I need 1.5 cups, so that's 3 cups to double. So there's 2. So it's 3 cups of chicken broth. The tomato sauce is in there. I need ground cumin, teaspoon bit. Cumin's one of my favorite spices. I love it. Heaping teaspoon. Garlic powder. This is not homemade, but when I get moved and have a garden next year, I am going to dehydrate and grind my own garlic powder. So 1 teaspoon of onion salt, but I don't buy onion salt. So I'm going to do onion powder, and then I will add salt. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of onion powder. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. I like things kind of salty, especially if there's heat involved. So I'm going to put the 2 tablespoons of flour right in here and blend it. So it's actually 4 because I'm doubling. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if any of you have noticed, today I'm using the Vitamix that we have because my deluxe cooking blender stopped working the day before, in the middle of making a sauce. So I called Pampered Chef today, and this is one of the things I love about them. There is a 3-year warranty on it. I called them, there's no problem. They're sending me a whole new blender. I can't tell you how much I miss it. This is not even funny. I mean, I like the Vitamix. I'm not dissing the Vitamix, but I much prefer my Pampered Chef blender for a number of reasons. Yeah, I just miss it a lot and didn't realize how much I would miss it. I'm throwing cilantro in there. It isn't called for in the recipe. I'm putting it in. I love cilantro, and I had it in the fridge, and it needs to get used up. And that's the whole point of this recipe, is showing you that, you know, leftovers and stuff in the fridge, like, you can make a whole new meal, and it saves money. It saves some time. Because some of it's already cooked. Not necessarily. I wouldn't be making this if I wasn't, wanting to use that pork in this recipe. But I know what's in all of this. So I'm quite happy to do this. I want to taste it, sorry. Wash my hands. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So I'm not going to show every part of this. I'm going to put this on the stove. I'm going to heat it up and wait for it to thicken. And this is going to be the enchilada sauce that I need for the casserole that I'm making. Come back when I'm ready to put this casserole together. I'm doing the roasted cauliflower to go with it. These guys, I'm going to make this. There's still tortillas. There's buns in the drawer. They can make sandwiches and stuff, or a wrap or whatever with the meat casserole. That's what I like about doing it separately, because it is a low carb casserole. But for people that aren't low carb, you could put it on rice, you could put it on tortillas, you could put it on buns, you could do so many things. You could have it with potatoes or something. But because it's separate, I'm not locked into that. I can do something as a side dish to go with it, to serve it with, that is more in line with my health goals and what I need, my body needs. So I'm going to heat this up, let it thicken. That'll be my sauce to put on the casserole, and I'll get back when I'm ready to put the casserole together. So I've taken the pork out of my quick cooker and I'm just shredding it in pieces, which is why I put it in there, so that it would warm it up a bit. It was in the fridge, already cooked. So, you know, the recipe I'm kind of basing this on called for pork and to cook it right away, but I'm using leftover pork, and that's okay. It's the whole point of this recipe. So I'm just going to shred it in this pan. This would have been terrible to try and shred cold, and it's doing fine right now, and it's so flavorful. We smoked it for 3.5 to 4 hours on the weekend. It's cooked beautifully. My son did a dry rub on it, and it's so flavorful, along with the smoke. We used a hickory and apple mix. Pampered Chef does sell some shredder forks, which I have not got yet. I will link them down below though, because they would make this job even quicker. I'm just using kitchen forks, and if that's all you've got, that's what you use. The special things are nice. They're not crucial. And if you have to use your hands. Ooh, it's hot though. I just did it on the steam setting because I just wanted to make sure it was moist and warm. I wasn't trying to cook it. One of my concerns is having it low carb. So I'm doing a roasted cauliflower something, I don't know. It's not really rice because I'm not going to rice it, but it would be along the same idea. And I'm just getting the cauliflower ready now. And that's what I'll have with mine. Again, it doesn't have to be a big deal. I'm just roasting this. I'm going to do it in my air fryer because I don't really want the oven on today. It's rainy and it's dark, but I don't like adding extra heat to the house if I don't have to. So the air fryer works perfectly as long as there's not too much. I think I'll be good with 2 trays. So I'm just going to separate the cauliflower florets, and I know a lot of people throw away the stalk. I take off the really bottom edge, but I still cut up the stalk. I think we throw too much food away, and somehow we've been tricked into believing that this stuff is bad, and it's still part of the same cauliflower that you're eating. As long as it's not tough, it's okay. And I tend to like a bit of crunch anyway, so these things don't bother me. It's the same with the broccoli stalks. Actually, I probably prefer the stalks to the florets, or whatever you call them. Anyway, that's just my issue for today. We had a really good weekend. It was our family reunion this weekend on my mom's side, and I have to admit it was pretty tough. We have lost so many family members. This is the first reunion we've had in 2 or 3 years because of COVID, obviously. And I don't even know, I've lost count of how many family members we've lost over that time, including my mom, my dad, my cousin, my uncle, my other uncle. Like, there's so many. And these are people that we've all looked up to for years, and they weren't there this year. This is the first time they weren't there in as long as I can remember, and I normally go every frigging year. So it was hard, I'm not gonna lie, to be there, to not have them there, to realize that you're becoming the older generation. Yeah, that's not fun. I almost talked myself out of going because I knew it would be hard. The firsts are always hard. I'm not saying it's going to be any easier next year, but firsts are tough. And I really debated. I mean, I could have come up with 1,000 excuses as to why I shouldn't go. I didn't need to go. But I also knew I wasn't the only one grieving in this family. There were a whole bunch of us, and we needed each other. And I'm so glad I went, because it was hard, but it was good. Saturday we had a barbecue. We did a smoked pork loin roast on the smoker charcoal grill, and it was amazing. But I had a whole lot left over. My fridge is full, and I need to get some stuff out of the fridge. And there's so much you can do with leftovers. So if you eat a meal and there's stuff left, do not throw it out. Find some recipes for leftover, whatever it is you have, or create your own. But do not throw that out. We cannot afford to be throwing food out. So this is a leftover recipe mixed with some fresh ingredients. So this cauliflower I've got all chopped up. I'm gonna roast it in the air fryer, and that's gonna be what I serve my casserole on, which is also a keto casserole. So I will, that'll be coming later on, but I just wanted you to see this part and to not be afraid to use leftovers. And it's a clean out the fridge day. But again, I want to make something that's appetizing. I don't want to end up throwing it in the garbage because nobody liked what I made with the leftovers. So anyway, I'm going to keep going, get this roasted, and I'll be back. So here's where the clean out the fridge part really comes into play. I'm putting in chopped onion and garlic that I sauteed in a pan. And then I will be adding that bag of spinach that was in the fridge. Here I'm adding some fresh lemon juice. This is part of the recipe for the pork itself. The sauce, the enchilada sauce, is going to have a lot of the spices that I am also going to add to the pork part of the recipe. So there's quite a few that are repeated, like cumin, chili powder, which I didn't have a lot left, but the pork itself was quite seasoned before we smoked it, so I wasn't too worried that it wasn't going to have enough flavor. Trying to keep the seeds out. It's always a challenge. Doesn't seem to matter what I use. If it's anything that's good enough to get the juice out, it's often the seeds come with it. But a little seed never hurt anybody. So I'm just getting the rest of the lemon juice. I put the juice of 1 whole lemon on there. And I will post the recipe that I've based this on. I mean, obviously I've deviated. It doesn't have spinach in it. It doesn't have some of the other things that I put in it. But a lot of spices are repeated, like I said, and they will be listed in that recipe. That was the end of the chili powder. I think that's some more cumin. This is oregano that I'm putting on. Honestly, guys, this casserole had so much flavor. The kids loved it. I loved it. You'll see at the end how I served it. This is the enchilada sauce. Again, I made way more than I actually need, and I probably put more on than I needed to, but I didn't know. Again, because I don't follow a recipe, I wasn't sure how much would cook away in the oven, and always adding a little extra salt. Then I topped it with crumbled cheese and chopped cilantro. Okay guys, so I just want to show you the final result. I can't tip it too much because it's all kind of soupy. It looks really good. I wish you could smell it. It smells amazing. It's kind of soupy. I'm going to let it sit for a little bit. I probably put too much sauce, but I like a lot of sauce. And so again, the kids are either going to have it on a sandwich or a wrap. I'm going to put mine on my cauliflower, which is still in the oven. I was going to do it in my air fryer, but since I had the oven on anyway, I decided to put it in the oven. It'd be really good on rice. It would be so good on rice. It's got the perfect amount of sauce actually for rice, more than a sandwich. I'm hoping it'll thicken up as it sits. The flavor's awesome. So this is using leftovers. This is using spinach out of the fridge that needed to get used, and really, in my opinion, and my taste wasn't, fresh enough for a salad. So it's great. Then you cook it. If you can't eat it raw, cook it. So that's what I did, and it's used up most of the roast that we had cooked. It's got onions, garlic, the enchilada sauce I made. I mean, I didn't use up as many leftovers as I would have hoped for in something, but it's made a whole other meal that, I did put some cilantro on top, some cheese. They can add more cheese if they want. We go through a lot of cheese in this house, but it's so tender, so juicy, and so flavorful. So in this day and age, for one, you don't want to waste. For two, you want to know what's in your food. And for three, you can make amazing dishes at home out of stuff that could have gotten thrown out or wasted somehow, and know what's in your food and make it from scratch. This is the second huge meal. I mean, the barbecue we had on Saturday with this one, it was pork loin, a whole loin. We cut it in half, smoked both halves, used most of one half. I kept 3 slices for somebody that might want a sandwich. But then I've taken the whole other one and part of the half that was left and put it in this casserole. And this casserole, it's given it a whole other life. Whatever you have, find a recipe that has something of that in it and make your own something. Clean out your fridge. Use up your leftovers. I used tomatoes that were, again, not bad, but had a couple spots on them. That's what I made the enchilada sauce with. I don't like to waste. So enjoy. If you want the recipe, I'll link it to my blog, which will have the recipe in it. And yeah, you can do this. I'm trying to empower you to be able to make meals for your family at home without having to buy boxed this and boxed that and pre-made this and pre-made that. Enchilada sauce, I have a whole jar left over. Look at that. I got a whole quart left I can use for another recipe. I did double it, so that's why I have extra, but still, it cost me pennies, and I know what's in it. There's no preservatives. The only thickener in it is flour. There's nothing in it that I don't know what it is. So we can get back to basics, cooking from scratch, eating at home, feeding our families, having family time around the table over food that we've made ourselves. So anyway, enjoy. You could take half of this and freeze it for another meal. Yeah, the options are endless.